You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.
Welcome to the Hot Options Report, your premier source for insight into the fast-moving options market. Each day, we'll track down the products that are dominating the options chains and impacting your trading account. From Apple to VIX and everything in between, if it's lighting up the options tape, then you'll find it on the Hot Options Report. And now, get ready to scan the tape for the most explosive options activity on the street. It's time for the Hot Options Report.
All right, everybody, that music means we are back once again. Time for a little bit of action. Time for your Hot Options Report for Wednesday, August 27th out there, listeners. And you know, we're coming at you a little bit earlier today. We have a lot going on after the bell. Have to hop on a plane right around the close today. So we got more of a midday Hot Options Report for you today. So without further ado, listeners, let's dive right on in, kick things off as we like to do with a little bit of volatility action. What's going on out there in VIX today? You know what? Is it an action-packed day out there in VIX land? The answer is yeah, it's fairly decent. If you looked at the broad markets, we're pretty much back in modest rally-ho mode again. Not usually a recipe for a lot of vol action. VIX cash ticking back up to about the 15 handle as we're kicking off the show, but that is translating to some heat out there in VIX land today, with the hot option today coming to the upside, 46, almost 47,000 of the SEP 25s dominating the tape at this midpoint of the session here today. Average price right around 45 cents. So interesting stuff. SEP 25s, 45 cents. You like those, listeners? VIX cash hanging out around 15. Would you be a buyer or a seller of those bad boys out there? Interesting. Again, 45 cents. They're not exactly giving them away, but that's VIX upside for you. What are you going to do? And then also, of course, you're getting a little bit of duration with that. Not a ton. September 17th. So if that's enough of a bang for your buck, maybe you like those bad boys out there. Number two, about 40,000 of the SEP 30s for 28 cents. So if you want a little bit of a cheaper bite of the apple and you want to go farther up the strike chain, maybe the SEP 30s are for you. But interesting stuff out there in VIX land today. Moving on to SPY, listeners. Is it a hot day out there in SPY? The answer is it's also respectable. About 3.25 million contracts already. ADV 8.1. We usually like to see it closer to 4 this time of the day. So, of course, we can get halfway to our ADV by the midpoint of the session. So not quite there. So VIX kind of stealing a march on SPY today, which is kind of interesting. We'll see how the S is holding up in a second. What is the hot option out there in SPY today? We've got 217,000 of these 647 calls. Interesting. Playing with fire out there. SPY hanging out right around 646 and 2/3 right now. So within spitting distance of that 647 strike. By the way, he's went for an average price of nearly 90 cents. So SPY's got to get a little bit more oomph in it by the end of the session for those bad boys to pay off if you are indeed buying them. All right, to the SPX we go, listeners. Is it a hot day in the SPX? The answer is it's actually decent. So we've got SPY a little light, we've got VIX a little heavy, and we got S coming in a little bit heavier than we expect this time of day as well. Already north of 2 million contracts, about 2.16 million contracts on the tape out there in the S. The ADV is about 3.9 million, so clearly past halfway for the S out there. So interesting stuff how we're seeing these pockets of liquidity emerge out there today. The hot option out there in the SPX today, listeners, we've got 127,000 of these 6480 calls dominate the tape. Average price of about $3.30. If that's the case, we're hanging out right at about 6480 right now. So we need to stay here and rally a bit by the end of the session for those bad boys to pay off if you are indeed buying them. But interesting stuff out there in the S as we keep on rolling out to small caps. What is lighting up the tape in small caps? Is it another banger day out there? The answer is it's respectable. Closing in on 800,000 contracts, 793 right now. The ADV right around 1.5 million, so obviously more than halfway to that ADV out there. And what is the hot option in small caps out there today? We've got about 94,000 of the 236 calls, again, expiring today. It's kind of fascinating. You know, most of the other big indexes are all fixated on all 0 day all the time. The Qs, the SPX, and the SPY, of course, all 0 day. But small caps fluctuates. Some days it's 0 day, like today, 236 calls. By the way, small caps hanging out right around 235.70. So the average price of those was about 30 cents. So they need to get in gear a little bit if you're going to pay those off by the end of the day. And then other days, small caps, their attention drifts. It goes out to, let's say, 1 month out downside seems to be very popular out there as well. So small caps kind of moves to the beat of its own drum. And today it is popping about 0.6% in. Loving itself some 0 day upside yet again. All right, the Qs have been another fascinating thing to watch of late. They've been lighting up the tape. And are they lighting up the tape today? The answer is no. So again, kind of a weird day out there on the street. Some names, VIX, SPX, of course, even small caps doing decent. And then the Qs pretty far behind where we expect them to be this time of the session. Usually we expect to see them around at least 2.25 million contracts about an hour ago. And we're nearly an hour past that. And we're only at 1.86 million contracts out there in the Qs. So kind of a light day out there in the Qs, which is kind of interesting coming on the heels of some absolutely banger days in the NASDAQ, over 5 million contracts going up some days. Doesn't seem like we're on pace to hit that today, but then again, the worm can turn on a dime out there in these markets, listeners. But it is the dog days of summer, so we do expect a little bit of sleepiness on the screen. What is the hot option in the Qs? You know it's expiring today. The question is, where is it? And it's the 573 calls going up about 100,000 times right now. Average price of about $1.67. This is another one where they need to kind of get in gear if they want these bad boys to make some money. Hanging out a little bit north of 573 right now, 573.40. So obviously you got to run a little bit by the end of the session in order to pay those bad boys off, if you were indeed buying them. All right, to the land of the top 10 we go, listeners. And you know what? On our shows like the Option Block, we often use a barometer of how much volume it costs, how many contracts it costs to break into the top 10 by about noon central as a barometer for how busy of a day it is. And if you're north of 250,000 by noon, then you're respectable. If you're north of 350, you got a pretty active day on your hands. North of 450, watch out. It's a banger. We are not there. We are about an hour past that now, listeners. And we're just barely north of 250,000 contracts today. So again, kind of sleepy, kind of the dog days of summer. Once again, getting back to our old pal SoFi. SoFi hanging out about exactly $25 right now, off about 60 cents, listeners, or about 2.33%. Again, a little bit north of 250,000 contracts. That's about exactly halfway to its ADV, which is now exactly 500,000. So that's spicy paper for SoFi. It's been very active of late. And what is the hot option out there in SoFi right now, listeners? Got a slew of it going up, but it looks like it's actually about 17,000 of the 25 puts, again, expiring this Friday. All opening paper going up for around 45 cents out there today. So 25 puts at the money put. You're kind of flipping a coin out there. 45 cents. Would you be a buyer or a seller right now, listeners? Going away in 2 days. For number 10, SoFi. Number 9, we're keeping it in the financial realm. We're going out to our old pal Robinhood, putting up 288,000 contracts on the tape today. Hood giving back a little bit today as well to the market gods. Trading 105 even, off about 380 or about 3.5%. So it's a give back day for some of these financial names. The hot option out there in Robinhood today, almost 31,000 of the 115 calls. Bit of a break with tradition. We're not expiring this Friday this time. We're going all the way out. I put all in air quotes, listeners. All the way out to next Friday. And again, it's the 115 calls trading for an average price of $1.58. So they're not giving these away. It's about a 71 volatility, listeners. That is rich. Again, we're hanging out right now exactly 105 in the underlying. And before you get excited, there are no earnings. The next earnings announcement is not until October 29th. Obviously, Robinhood just had their earnings a little while ago. So that's a lot of juice for some near-dated upside here in Robinhood, listeners. You like that? Would you be a buyer, $1.60 roughly for the 115s next week? Or would you say sold to you $10? Got to rally $10 by the end of next week, I should say. That might be a decent covered call if you're thinking. If you're holding some Robinhood right now, you don't mind letting it fly 10 handles higher, plus about $1.60. Might not be a bad covered call for you. Either way, number 9, Robinhood. Number 8, this name has been on everyone's lips these days. It's my old stomping grounds. It's Intel, putting up close to 300,000 contracts today, about 290,000 contracts. Intel right around 24.80 today, up about 45 cents or nearly 2%. So gaining some back after losing some ground to the market gods recently. The hot option in Intel today, 25,000 of the 25s going out this week. Average price of about 33 cents. So again, a near at the money option, couple of days to go, 33 cents. Very much a lottery ticket. Would you be a buyer or a seller, listeners? You think Intel can cross the 25 handle, the finish line by the end of the week? I guess we'll find out. Intel has been a very wild name of late. And then coming in at number 7, we've got our old pal AMD. We're going out to Chipland, listeners. AMD coming in right now. 329,000 contracts for the number 7 spot. AMD 167.15, up about half a buck on the day. So a nice little pop for them. You know, it's been on again, off again. They had a nice rally along with Nvidia after getting seemingly permission to sell to China. Maybe some of that up in the air now, coming back the other way. A lot of back and forth out there, but AMD getting a little bit of a lift today. And the hot option in AMD, 23,000 of the 170 calls expiring again this Friday. So almost $3 out of the money calls. Going up for an average price of about $1.75. So again, they're not giving these away. That's about a 64 volatility as well. So another one that needs to get in gear by the end of the week if you're buying these, listeners. Interesting. AMD, if you're intrigued by all things tech names, and let's keep on rolling to number 6, listeners, it's the fruit company, aka Apple. 392,000 contracts on the tape for them. They're hanging out right around 230.20, actually, up about almost a buck or almost 0.5% today. So managing to rally back away from that 200 strike that it blew past ever since their trip to Washington. And what was the hot option out there in the fruit company today? 47,000 of the 230 calls. Again, that is the at the money strike. So very much a coin flip right now. What are they trading for? An average price of about $2.30. And you can also see why I say some of those other calls were expensive. Apple trades at a much more down-to-earth 31 volatility right now. So you're talking, some of these other options we were talking about were over 2x that. So you can see when I say, that sounds kind of rich, that is why. $2.30 right now for the 230s by Friday. Can we stay here and then rally $2.30 to break even on these calls, listeners, by Friday? That's what the buyers of these are hoping for, and there's a lot of opening paper on this strike. So interesting stuff as we keep on rolling, listeners, to one of my old favorites. I don't get the chance to talk about it that much, so when I do, it's exciting. What are we talking about? It's my favorite alliance of all time. Of course, the Walgreens Boots Alliance. Ticker symbol, you know it, you love it, WBA. Trading right around $11.90. So kind of unched right now on the day, but putting up 500,000 contracts out there in the boots. Good old boots. As expected, corporate action driving a lot of this paper out here. Those names have been in play for a while out here, and their tender offer extended by 1 day. Obviously, that is driving a lot of this flow out there today. Intriguing stuff out here for good old WBA. And let's find out, let's celebrate the long, storied history of the Alliance with some hot options action. Let's see what is going on out there today. What is dominating the tape on this very corporate action-driven day? It's about 60,000 of the November 11s. I have to admit, this is probably the first time on our hot options report we've gone all the way out to November. Not a lot of long-term paper like this. It's also a good sign that this is corporate action paper, right? I'll have to go look and see the details of this tender offer and what prices they're talking about here. But obviously, this 11 strike in November, attractive to a lot of people. Nearly 60,000 of these going up for 77 cents as the average price. Number 2, we got the Jan 10s, 55,000 times for $1.94. So interesting stuff out here, listeners. As we keep on rolling to the number 4 spot, it's our old pal Open. Yeah, they seem like they're perennial top teners now after just blowing onto our list a few weeks ago, pretty much coinciding with the launch of the hot options report was the debut of Open in our top 10, and they have not gone away. They are persistent. 523,000 contracts today, so over 500,000 contracts already. Hot day out there in Open. Stock hanging out right around 4 1/3, giving up about 40 cents. This name is kind of all over the place. If you don't like where it is, just wait 5 minutes. What's the hot option out there today? Again, we're going to the upside. 77,000 of the 5 calls expiring on Friday. Average price of about 20 cents. This could have been closing. There is a lot of OI on this strike, obviously. So maybe some folks are deciding 5 is a bit of a bridge too far, trying to get what they can get for it. And in this case, it's 20 cents, or maybe they're rolling the bones to get some more upside. Either way, you like those, listeners, for 20 cents? Would you be a buyer, or do you think 5 is a distant memory in the rearview mirror, at least by Friday, listeners? That is not a lot of runway to work with as we keep on rolling to the number 3 spot. Yes, climbing all the way to number 3 today. It's our old pal Palantir. 569,000 contracts on the tape for them. Palantir giving up a little bit of the ghost today. 157 3/4 off a little over 3, about 310, or about 2%. Nowhere near the dire sell-offs that we've seen a couple of times now intraday, where they just took it to the woodshed shy of 150 in the morning and then rallied it $8-10 by the afternoon. It's been wild to watch that play out a couple of times now. Today, we appear to just be selling off, and nowhere near the degree we've seen in recent sessions. And what is the hot option out there in Palantir today? Listen, let's find out. It's the 160 calls, going up about 54,000 times. Average price of around $2.42. 160. Again, we're trading a little bit shy of 158 right now, listeners. Think we can get to 162.42 by Friday's close? If so, maybe you like these calls out here. Either way, some folks do, to the tune of about 54,000 changing hands out there in Palantir to propel it to the number 2 spot as we keep on going. Number 3 spot. To have Palantir climb all the way to the number 3 spot as we keep on rolling, listeners. It's our top 2. You could probably guess who's hanging out in those top 2 spots. The question is, what is the order? Tesla's been taking the top spot for a while lately. Folks out there have been liking themselves some Tesla options. Tesla today hanging out right around 351, actually giving up about 3/4 of a buck out there today, and taking the number 2 spot today. 1.25 million contracts. The hot option out there in good old Tesla today, about 117,000 of the 355s, the 3 double calls expiring, of course, this Friday. Average price of $4.30. So stock needs to get in gear, close nearly 360 by the end of the week, listeners, in order for these bad boys to pay off out there. So interesting stuff. Can Tesla get there, or is this about it for the week? In which case, that 430, if you're paying it, going the way of the dodo as we keep on going into the number 1 spot. You know what it is. How could it be anything else, really? On the day of Nvidia's earnings, yes, everyone's waiting for the big announcement after the bell. The big dog. Some might say it's Nvidia's market. We're all just living in it. Yep, Nvidia, 1.85 million contracts on the tape right now as everyone's waiting after the bell. The stock hanging out a little bit north of 182, about 182.13, up about a third right now. So kind of drifting into the close. Everyone waiting for that big number out there. Speaking of big numbers, let's see. What is the hot option out there in Nvidia today, listeners? It is 70,000 of the par calls, the 200 calls. Interesting. Going up for an average price of 78 cents. If you're wondering, vol-wise, it's juicy, 103 out there. Do you think Nvidia can get there, listeners? This is obviously an earnings roll of the dice. This is all opening. Looks like there's about 64,000 of the 180s going up today as well. That is also opening. Average price there, obviously a lot richer, $6.56. So maybe you prefer that vertical, the 180 200 vertical, going up for around 5 3/4 out there. $20 vertical, 5 3/4. Maybe you like that. Maybe you think that's too rich for your blood as well. It is very much a roll of the dice. If these numbers are bad or if they're just not great, we're going to be at or below that 180 strike, and that whole vertical, all that upside is going to be worthless, listeners. So something to bear in mind if you are intrigued by these contracts. But that is what's dominating the tape in Nvidia, our number one hot option today. All right, that's going to do it for your early hot options report, your early taste of Thor for Wednesday, August 27th. If you're listening to the network, surprise, got some more fun in store for you. We'll be hitting you on demand in a little bit with, of course, OBC Options Bootcamp. If you're hanging out in the pro, you already heard that. Yet another reason to get active in the pro, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. And then, surprise, surprise, we've got the return of our old pal, Mr. Overby, with the taste, yes, of Options Playbook Radio coming back at you today. That will be hitting the on-demand side in a little bit. I think he has some fun skullduggery up his sleeve for Nvidia. So we want to get that to you before the closing bell today. So a lot of fun. Yet another reason, if you're listening just to the Hot Options Report on whatever platform you're getting it on, you should be subscribed to the full Options Insider Radio Network. A lot of goodies coming at you, including the return of an old favorite, OPR, aka Options Playbook Radio. So I hope you enjoy all that content coming at you today. Back again some more with our usual array of content. The option block with the Flow Master, This Week in Futures Options, and of course, another episode of the Hot Options Report. Stay safe out there, everybody.
Check out public.com/optionsbrief and discover the most cost-effective way to trade options. Paid for by Public Investing. Full disclosures in podcast description.